Hello, Air University. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the Air Force Association convention that took place a couple of weeks ago and give you a status report of where we're at. This was our new chief's first Air Force Association convention at the Gaylord Center in Washington, D.C. And it was his first time to talk publicly about his vision for the Air Force. So if you have not already listened to the speeches or read the speeches of that conference, you should do so. This is part of our professional development as airmen. Whether you're a civilian, guard, active duty, reserve, professor, student, it does not matter. You have a responsibility to be aware of what our leaders are talking about. This is the core of policy, it is the core of commander's intent, and it is the only way you can align your efforts and your work towards solving the problems and the priorities defined by our leaders. So let me give you a quick tour of what was said. Our chief articulated that he would like to focus on three key priorities during his tenure as our 21st Chief of Staff of the Air Force. The first is to get back to the family business of revitalizing the squadron. This is a very powerful cultural point. Just as in our nations, we inculcate and validate our values by teaching our children and our families the values that our culture stands for, so too the Air Force teaches the values of airmen and air-mindedness by taking the time to educate our airmen at the squadron level, giving the squadrons the resources they need, the time they need, and the capability to educate the family at the squadron level as our core fighting unit is at the key of this priority. The chief needs your help in thinking through, what does this mean? How do we architect this for the information age so we don't just go back to the past and try to recreate glory days of the past, but we make this effort relevant to the way the world is different today. The second priority is to build airmen that are world-class at combined arms and the joint fight. This doesn't just include the education of airmen to really understand how we fit into the broader context of the joint and coalition fight. It's also the structures that we put together to help bring airmen into the fight in a congruent way in the multi-domain environment we're in. That's his second priority, and we need your help at thinking through what is the nature of that problem and what steps do we take to solve it. His third priority is to allow the Air Force to deliver command and control in a way that provides for every customer a grid out there in the strategic environment that knits together the sensor grid with the effects grid in a way that gives our President, our Congress, and our senior leaders options. And it's really about dominating the information domain, where we understand what is going on in the strategic environment, and we can give knowledge and wisdom to our leaders so they can make decisions. And they can make the decisions fast or slow, but they can control the tempo and timing of conflict so that we can allow statesmanship and diplomacy to act, and we can control situations before they control us. These are his three key priorities, and we all need to think about them, understand them. General Dunford also talked very powerfully about the fact that we need to be thinking differently about the problems we have because the environment is so different. And Secretary Work also had some very powerful suggestions for the Air Force. So I implore you to go, call, or communicate with the integration cell here at Air University. They have all the documents, they have all the speeches, and they have many of the things that can make it easy for you to go to one-stop shopping to understand what was said and the expectations, the guidance, and the direction of this new leader in our Air Force, General Goldfein. So thank you for your service to our country, whether you're from another nation that shares these common values of the respect of humanity, whether you're a civilian, guard, active duty, reserve, student, or faculty. It is your professional responsibility to track these conversations so that your efforts are aligned with the greater good and the greater cause of America's airmen, our joint partners, our coalition partners, and the nation and the nations that we serve. Thank you for being a defender of freedom, and thank you for your work this year.